Welcome to Insight Builder channel. Writing Redis tools to work with CrewAI. Integrate Redis tools and agents with CrewAI tools. This is part 14 of multi-part videos that I have been making on CrewAI. So what is covered in this video? So we will be looking at what is Redis, what is its purpose, how to use Redis with Python, a demo on CrewAI tool for Redis, and a code walkthrough. Finally, we will look at some general lessons that you need to be aware of. Let's dive in. So what is Redis? Redis is a cache database. If you guys are thinking about what is a cache is kind of a temporary memory storage which can be accessed at a very high speed. So that is Redis. So you can store things that you want in a hurry. You can just place it there and you can recover it in very less amount of time. It's faster than the databases also. Redis stores a key value pair. The value can be multiple things. It can be just a string, it can be a dictionary, it can be a hash, it can be a list, and it can also be a JSON data, it can be a vector database, vectorized embeddings. So Redis is pretty versatile, right? We are going to look at a very basic step in Redis. That is, we are going to simply store a key and a value, and then we are going to retrieve it. We are going to do it manually using Redis CLI. We will be doing it with Redis Python, and then we will be doing it with Redis CrewAI agents. All the three, we will be doing it one by one. You can see that Redis is used in a lot of places. Whenever it is used in systems like web applications, it can be used in used as a middle step in getting the data from the database, real-time analytics and dashboards. So a lot of places it's being used right now. Also, it can be used for storing your asynchronous work that you're doing on the web application. That also Redis takes care right now. So there are a couple of Redis queue options that is available. So the ecosystem around Redis is pretty sturdy, right? So understanding Redis can give you a lot of opportunities to streamline your systems. Well, let us proceed further. So how is Redis used with LLM? When it comes to LLMs, right, two things: embeddings and context. Both of these things Redis supports out of the box. You have to use Redis Stack Server for getting the vector embeddings to work, and the Redis regular doesn't have embedding, so keep that in mind. And if you go to Redis web page, you will be able to find that out very fast. The point I want to make here is that context and embedding is what supports the rest of the things like knowledge base augmentation, dynamic prompt construction, semantic tagging. All these are based on the first two. Okay, so these are all kinds of derivative applications. So what features are we going to do when it comes to the CrewAI tools that we are going to build? So in order to understand the features, right, we will send a simple sentence in English, and that will be converted to key value pair and stored inside Redis. So we have to understand this from the Redis, and then write the code for the CrewAI tools. So let us dive in. I have a Redis Python spike, meaning a spike is something that you do when you are new to a particular concept, particular system, particular product or a package. That's what I called as a spike. So I keep on spiking new packages and systems time and again because I am exploring varieties of ways you can use LLMs, right? And this is one of the spikes that I've been doing. But before we run this spike, I am going to run something much more simpler. So let us go into the Git folders and let me spawn a Redis Docker. So I am running this Redis Docker in the Redis demo. Port is 6379. So Redis runs on 6379 port. So keep that in mind. and I'll be using the Redis latest image. So once you run this, if you need to have Docker installed, that's first thing. And once you run this, the Redis cache database will start running on 6379, and you need to install Redis CLI. And once you do that, you will be able to access the Redis instance on 6379 on your local host. It's a pretty straightforward process. And after you do this, just a second, I will also show you some additional steps. So you need to have some dependencies installed also, like CrewAI, Redis, and CrewAI tools. You need to have the Redis server. As I have told here, I have not given the Docker command here. You can refer to this Docker command. And if you visit the Redis latest Docker image or the Docker page in the Docker Hub, you will be able to get this command automatically. Okay, this command docker run -d name Redis demo is a command to start a container. To pull the image, you will be using docker pull. Okay, so keep that in mind. The Docker related discussions are pretty deep, because by itself Docker is a huge subject, right? But yeah, keep these docker pull, docker run commands in your mind. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a key. So the moment I type set, you can see that the Redis CLI prompt is showing me what I need to do. So I need to give a key. So I'm going to say key 1. So that is K1, and I'm going to say value is 10. That's it. And the moment I do this, you can see that the Redis server returns me a OK. Next, if I do this, right, and I'm going to make it as key 2. So that will also be OK. And now if I get key get star, you'll see there are, okay, just a minute. Oh, sorry about that. So I need to say keys and keys pattern. So if I do keys pattern, you can see there are two keys, key 1 and key 2. And then I need to say get K1, that will give me 10, and get K2, that will also give me 10. So even the integer that I gave is actually coming back as a string, right? So you have to decode it back. So keep that in mind. The moment it goes into Redis, there would be these funny things happening with the data that you're pushing in. So keep this thing in mind. The moment it comes out, you have to decode it into the format that you want. Okay, so this is how you set and get a key directly on the command line. Okay, that is the command line option. But how to do it with Python? So in order to do it with Python, I am going to use this code. So this code is simply going to take a key and a value manually. So you can see that this is a Pywebio based application, which is going to give you a very good, neat looking interface in the web. And you'll see that it's going to ask me a key, it's going to ask me a value, and then I can use that key to retrieve the data back. You'll see it in action. That will be better. So I'm going to say, just give me a second. Let me change the directory to Redis. Just a minute. Cursor projects, Redis, CrewAI, and I think it should work. Python, Redis Python Spike. Okay, so it is saying the Redis module is missing. So let me do it. Okay, I have virtual environment here. You can see that this virtual environment, so I can enable that. In the virtual environment, I have installed the necessary libraries like the Redis, the Pywebio, and CrewAI, etc. So you can do a pip freeze and you should be able to see that. So if I do a pip freeze on the virtual environment, whatever packages that I've installed in that virtual environment will be listed out, right? So let us give it a second so that it will list it out. So the point I want to make is ensure that you add Pywebio here. Here I have not added it because I'm talking about CrewAI. So I did not specifically, update Pywebio, but you can do that. And the port details, it's just for your reference, right? Let us go back. So you can see that, the packages that we are going to install is only 4, but these packages will have dependencies, and those dependencies are getting installed and shown here to you guys. So you can see that we have Redis here, and if we go up, we have Pywebio, and if you also scroll up, you will see CrewAI in some places. Yeah, you can see CrewAI here. So yeah, all the stuff is installed, and let us now run the Python Redis Python Spike. Now this will take a moment, and it will spawn a web interface, or it will open a website where you can where you can start interacting with the Redis store. Let me do this a second, please. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this side by side, and I'm going to open a Redis CLI so that you can see what is happening in parallel. Okay, so that should do. So what I'm going to do is, this is Redis usage using Python, and I'm going to add a key. So let me say add key, simple, right? I'm going to submit it, and the moment I do that, it will ask me for a value. So I'm going to say 25. And once that is done, it is saying the data is stored successfully. If you come here and if you execute this, you see that the key, add key, has got updated here. And now if I retry the value, if I want to retry the value of add key, all I need to do is give the value here, and you will see that it is retrieving data as 55. So you can do the same here as get add key, and that will return you 25. So you see how these two things are working. And by now you must have seen the pattern. So you have to give the key and the value separately. Okay, which is not very comfortable for us. We, in discussion, when you are working with the chatbots, we don't want to go on giving the same keys and value pairs and again. We want it to be more interactive, right? So let us see how you can make it more interactive. That's what you are going to see next. So let us make this bigger, and we are going to now go into the actual, just a minute. Yeah, now we are going to start the demo of the CrewAI tools based demo. So this demo will show you how you can use natural language to add the data into the Redis CLI. So for that, we will be using the Redis, just a minute, Redis KV crew. That is the script that we'll be using, and that will also be using a front end from the Pywebio. So it will be a chat based interface, and we will be using a similar kind of a scenario. So I'll be showing how the things work in the web interface and what is happening in the Redis CLI. So this will take a second because it takes a moment to come up. In the meantime, I want you to look at this link or this page where all the necessary code is already uploaded, and the link will be shared with you guys. So it's a pretty simple code, and you can see that it's taking considerable amount of time because it's actually loading the CrewAI related package. It is loading CrewAI tools, and then it is trying to do interface with the Agentic. A lot of things are happening. So that's why it's taking a lot of additional steps, and by default it starts running one of the tasks. So that's how the code has been set, and you can see that intent user preference and the value of dark mode is already added. So let us check that out. So if I do a Redis CLI now, and if I do a key star, you can see that user intent is already added. That's the work of the actual agent. Okay, so now let us do something. So let us add some values. So yeah, it's always better to add the expiry date also, expiry time also, to make this little more helpful. So let's say there are 3 chipmunks in the line for 30 seconds. Store it in store this. So this is the command I'm giving. So you can see I'm giving an arbitrary sentence, and let us see what happens here. Okay, so let us submit this, and the moment I submit this, the task is initiated, and you can see the key value, the chipmunks in line, the value 3, and expiry is 30 seconds. You saw what has happened. It took a sentence which was a English line, and it actually created a Redis instance. Sorry, it created a Redis key. So you can see that chipmunks in line here, right? And if you try to get the chipmunks in line, you will see that it is, I think now it will be gone. Yeah, now it is nil because it's more than 30 seconds, right? So by the time I typed it, it was more than 30 seconds, so it was lost. So let me do that. So let me again try it. So there are 5 elephants. Okay, spelling in line for 45 minutes. Store it. And let us see what happens. So let us go here. So you can see that the elephant queue, 5 elephants, 45 minutes and 2700. So this is the data that is updated. And if I go here and if I do keys and star, you can see elephants in line, right? Elephant queue. And if I get the elephant queue, so if I do the elephant queue, you'll see that 5 elephants, 45 minutes. So this is what actually is possible. Now compare this with the way we were initially interacting with Redis. So we were interacting with Python, we were giving the key values manually, you need to specifically segregate it. But now here we are not segregating anything. We are just pushing it to the Redis, and Redis is actually doing the segregation of the key and the value. And most of the time it is segregating in the way that we want, right? We want elephants, how many elephants are going to be there for how much time, and we want that expiry time also to be taken up. So you can see that it is doing it appropriately, right? If I just say there are 5 fishes in the tank, store it. So I am just saying store it just to give you a feel of what is going on. Even if you don't do that, it will still store it. So let us see what is happening. So sometimes what happens is you will actually get I was unable to successfully store the data. You see, when I started working with the tool development, right, this problem I was facing. So sometimes the LLM was unable to properly extract the keys and values if we don't give the expiry time. So this was a problem that I was facing, and this can be resolved, in fact. But I wanted to show you that, okay, this is a kind of a challenge that you will face in your development time also, and you need to be ready for this, right? And the point is to understand how the tools are working. So right now you have seen the demo, but how and what is actually happening at the backend, that we will right now look at through the code. Okay, so I'll be showing the code through the GitHub link itself. So this is the KV crew code that was running this application. Okay, I am not going to actually review this code because this code is pretty straightforward. If you know how CrewAI and how the tools are integrated, how the tasks and agent works, then this is a pretty straightforward code. I'm not going to dive into this. What I am going to dive into is into the KV tool code, where the key value tool, meaning the Redis tool, has been coded. Okay, let me zoom in a bit. And here you can see that I have imported a couple of new things in case of Pydantic, config dit and field. These are all required. I will tell you why. You can see there is these flags that I have set for Pyrite. This is not important for you guys right now. And we have the RedisCacheTool. So in order for the tool to be coded, you need to import the CrewAI tools base tool. That is important. And important thing is you need to have the Redis client as an attribute for the base tool. So this is important, or else what happens is the tool will not be able to send the request to set the key and get the key. It will not be able to do that. So you need to let the base tool to have the access or control of the Redis client itself. So in order to do that, we have to have a different type of a configuration in Pydantic. So that's why this config dictionary has come in. I'll be explaining to you why. So here the name, the parameters, the examples, these are all pretty straightforward procedures that you need to follow when you are writing a tool. Here is the Redis client. You can see this is a class attribute. Okay, this is not an attribute of the object. It's not inside the init. You can see that here, right? It's actually inside the class definition itself. So the class is defined RedisCacheTool, and you can see the attribute Redis client here. And I am naming it. The type is Redis with capital R, which is actually the Redis class. This Redis class is coming from the Redis package, Python Redis package. Fine. And this field is what is important. So we are actually telling that exclude this field, and also this default is going to be none. So if the Redis client is not initialized, also it is okay. And you should not do the pickling of this Redis object. That is what we are telling here to Pydantic. And next is config dictionary. So here we are telling that Pydantic be ready to allow arbitrary types. So meaning that Redis class is an arbitrary type. Pydantic may not know about these types already when Pydantic was written, correct? So we have to set this configuration to true. By default it is false. So if it is false, then if you actually create a Redis client like this, and if you send it to the compilation or try to execute this, it will throw an error. So in order to avoid that, we need to use this option. Well, next is the init place. So init, we are using the similar kind of an init for Redis host, port, and database. Okay, I am not actually diving into the Redis completely. Okay, here I am expecting that you guys know how to work with Redis, and if you have not come across Redis, this could be an introduction video. But I want you guys to really dive into Redis and understand it in a deeper fashion if you are going to work further. This is just an example of how you can use CrewAI and its tools with Redis, right? So keep that in mind. So you can see that I'm initiating a client here to Redis localhost, and I am sending. So this is where I'm sending the Redis client back to the superclass. That is the base tool. So using the super init, I am doing that. Okay, so keep this in mind. This has to be done. And after that comes the special part where I am using this underscore run. So this is the method that will run the actual tool when you are calling, when you are sending the natural language requests to the LLM. So this run will be called, and it has to be underscore run, or else it will not work. So keep that in mind. And the key and how the key looks, the value and how the value looks. All of these examples are already created, and it is shown to the LLM when the tool is given to the agents in the CrewAI. So this is how we are showing it to the LLM. Next, we have the expiry date. So here the option, it is optional, and it has to be integer. So we are updating all these things, and then we want a message that indicates success or failure of the operation. This is important because if you see here, it is actually telling me that it was unable to be successfully stored. So how did I get this output? Because I told to the tool that it has to return to me a string value, whether it was successful or not. And here is the example of how the tool is run. And finally, we have the validation process. The actual work that is being done by the Redis client is here. Okay, this you see the single line, Redis client.setX key expiry value and Redis client.set key and value. These are the two lines that actually set the key to the Redis cache. Rest of all the things are there to ensure that the key and the value are in the proper format, in the proper type, are not none. So all these checks are done, and then it is sent for setting in the Redis client. So the lessons that you learn is very important. Okay, most of the time you might think artificial intelligence coding can be, in fact, no. The main thing you need to understand is that the rules of coding still holds true. Whether you are coding CrewAI tools or whether you are coding a front end or a back end system, it's still going to be the same. You have to ensure that your value that is entering into the code is properly formatted, has a proper type, etc. Correct. And finally, you need to also ensure that it is entering through the proper channel, meaning the proper method or through the proper function, which the system can identify. So these things are what I try to share with you guys. So I believe that in this video you already understood a lot of things by now. So you understood how the natural language can be used to push the data into the Redis client, and also you understood how you can use Python to work with Redis catch, and also you also saw a basic introduction of how to use Redis CLI to work with the Redis tool, work with the Redis catch, right? And then we saw how the Redis tool is coded inside the using the base tool, and we also saw the demo of how we can use the CrewAI agents to work with the Redis tool and use natural language to update the data to Redis catch. So all of these things we actually went through, and we also learned some additional lessons on Pydantic. So we saw that we'll be facing some challenges with Pydantic when you are going to work with similar kind of a project, when you are going to try and interface clients like Redis into the CrewAI tools. So you need to know that you have to create clients that will be given as an attribute to the superclass. So you need to keep this in mind, and you need to also ensure that it is not pickled. If you allow it to be pickled, then it will be a problem. So if you are trying to store the instance of the base tool, it should not be allowed, because it's a client, right? Client is not going to be existing forever, so you cannot pickle it. So keep these ideas might be alien to you. Don't worry about that. Make a note of it. Try to do the research later and see what I'm talking about. And if you have any questions, do comment it out. And you can see that you can work with different types of data types in Pydantic. You can work with the tool state, etc. if you understand these things in Pydantic. Again, I am not diving into Pydantic. I am not diving into the basics of Redis. I would be leaving it to a different video altogether. So there are lots of tools available, technology and the videos available. So I would suggest you guys to take a look at that. Now comes the important part, the way we can use Redis keys to store the intents. One thing that you noticed is when I actually gave a natural language input, the direct, you see there is an intent here. So I told the elephants on the queue, and the key by itself became elephant_queue. Correct. And similarly, when I started for the chipmunk keys, right? So the chipmunks in queues all automatically took the intent also. And how is this happening? Because it is happening because I have coded that in the Redis agents. So let me show you that real quick. So let me go here. And if you go to Redis KV crew, and if you go to the agent, here I am actually telling that extract the intents in the user query and store that along with the query. So I am telling this specifically to the agent. This is how this elephant_queue is happening, and intent user preference. So this is also happening because of that particular instruction that I have given to the LLM. That leads us to this Redis key store intents. So the key itself can be used to store intents. And once you can store the intents, you can use the intents as a filter to extract the information from the Redis cache or Redis database. So here are some 10 prompt examples for semantic query catching, dynamic knowledge graphs, conversational state management, personalized recommendation. So these are all various ways you can use the Redis key to enable a very personalized and a very high speed response to the users if you are building a chatbot. You must have already seen, like, building a chatbot is pretty simple, right? All you need is Pywebio, and even this Pywebio is a very intuitive and a very simple interface package that I came across 3 days back when I was searching for a simple way to do a chatbot. So whatever you are seeing here, this enter the description, this box is happening because of a while loop. Okay, so I will leave you guys to explore this the Redis KV crew script where I'm using Pywebio. You will see that I'm using a while true loop here. So that is how this chat box is actually coming up, and you can see the updates happening as if it's a chatbot, right? So you don't need to have an elaborate chatbot application as such. No Streamlit, no Gradio, no. Those are a little more complex. This is straightforward, very simple while true loop. Let's go back. We were discussing about these recommendations. You can use it for content summarization, question answering, sentiment and intent analysis. Like as I told you right now, dynamic prompt fragments, real-time event mapping. So you can map the events. Like as I was showing that there are 5 elephants in the queue, it actually maps that value of 5 elephants in the queue with the quantity of 5. You can use it for memory augmentation also. So all of these things are the benefits of working with Redis Key Store. Now it's time to recap. So let us go back. So we have seen the overall process of all these steps. So we have seen what is Redis, what is the purpose, how Redis can be used with Python and CLI, how CrewAI tools are used with Redis, and finally the code walkthrough and the general lessons. I believe that this video was pretty helpful to you guys. Do leave a comment and do subscribe to my channel for this kinds of additional information on CrewAI tools. And with that said, I would like to leave this video with 4 words, that is practice, 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 practice. See you guys.